You ever host a party that feels like it's happening on someone else's stage, but the house, the food, the drinks, the decorations, all of it is yours? That's what it felt like the day my wife's baby shower was held in my living room, under my roof, with my family and her friends laughing, eating and unwrapping gifts, while I stood there smiling through clenched teeth, because deep down, even though nobody else in the room knew yet, I already suspected the baby she was carrying wasn't mine. It's funny how betrayal doesn't usually come crashing in like a thunderstorm. It drips, slow, steady, like a faucet you can't quite shut off. At first it's just an odd detail you try to ignore. The timing of her pregnancy had been the first drip. We'd been trying for months, tracking ovulation, counting days, following all the tips the doctor gave us, and then suddenly, after weeks of bad timing and let's not stress about it, she shows up with a positive test. Except the dates didn't line up. She claimed it happened on one of the few days we'd been together that month. I wanted to believe her. God, I wanted to believe her. Then came the other drips. The phone calls she took in the kitchen late at night. The way she angled her body away when texting. The sudden new girlfriend she started having lunches with, whose name I never seemed to catch. And the biggest one, the way she avoided my eyes when people congratulated us. She hugged me, kissed me in public, played the glowing expectant mother. But when it was just us, she was distant, cold, like I was just a guest star in her new show. And yet there I was, stringing pastel balloons across the mantel, hauling in folding chairs, picking up trays of cattered food. My mother sat at the dining table, helping fold napkins. My sister fussed over decoration. My wife floated around the house with that fake smile plastered on her face, patting her belly like she was cradling some great achievement. People told me I looked proud. I nodded, smiled, played the role, but inside I was hollow. Because I knew, I just didn't have proof yet. The proof came a week before the shower. I'd borrowed her iPad to check some emails when a message popped up. A text. The preview lit up the screen. I can't wait to meet our baby. My stomach dropped. Our baby, not mine. Some other man's claim written casually, confidently, like it was the most natural thing in the world. My hands shook as I opened the thread. Dozens of messages, plans, hopes, whispered dreams. They'd been building this fantasy together, while I worked overtime to pay for the nurse. I didn't confront her right away. I couldn't. The shower was days away. Family had flown in. Friends had shipped gifts. Canceling would raise questions I wasn't ready to answer. So I swallowed it, sat with it, let it fester while I kept setting up a celebration for a child that wasn't mine. The morning of the shower I woke up early, sat in the nursery we'd painted yellow, rocking slowly in the chair we'd built together. My chest felt like it was caving in. Every stuffed animal, every tiny onesie folded in the dresser, every little mobile hanging over the crib, it all screamed at me. This isn't yours. But I couldn't walk away. Not yet. Not without making sure the truth landed exactly where it belonged. Guests started arriving around noon. Women in floral dresses, men carrying gifts, kids running through the yard. Laughter filled the house. Someone turned on music. My wife beamed as people touched her belly, cooing. "You're glowing." She thanked them, hugged them, pretended she was the perfect wife, with the perfect life. And I stood there shaking hands, pouring drinks, smiling through a storm only I knew was raging. The surreal part was watching people write cards addressed to me. "Congrats, Dad. You're going to be amazing at this." They handed me wrapped packages with little rattles printed on the paper, their eyes shining with sincerity. And all I could think was, if only you knew. Halfway through the shower she stood in the center of the room, opening gifts while people clapped and cheered. I stood behind her, close enough to see the sweat on her neck, the slight tremor in her hands. Maybe she knew I knew. Maybe her body betrayed her nerves the way mine betrayed my restraint. Then my son, our 7-year-old from my first marriage, who adored her, came running in with something he'd made. A little card, scribbled in crayon, with stick figures holding hands. He handed it to her proudly. She opened it, smiled, and froze. Because beneath the crude drawing were the words, "Mommy, Daddy and Baby," and Mommy's friend. The room went silent. Everyone chuckled at first, thinking it was just child's play. But I saw her face drain of color, saw the way she crumpled the card quickly, laughing too loudly, saying, "Kids, They write the funniest things, but I knew, and maybe some of the others suspected too. The tension was thick, masked only by forced laughter and the rustle of wrapping paper. I didn't say anything then, not yet. I let the shower play out, let people eat, drink, toast, let her open every last gift, every last card that celebrated her lie. I smiled for photos. I held her hand when people snapped pictures of her, and all the while I felt like I was standing outside my own body, watching a man participate in his own humiliation. But here's the part she didn't know. In the back room, on my laptop, I had the text messages saved, the email, even a few photos I'd pulled from her cloud account, the ones she thought she'd hidden. Him and her together, his hands on her belly, the same belly everyone was celebrating in my house. I was waiting for the perfect moment. Because if she was reckless enough to let another man claim her child, and brazen enough to let me host the shower, then she was arrogant enough to believe she could get away with it forever. She didn't know that the man she thought was too soft, too trusting, had already sharpened the blade. And as I stood in that living room, balloons swaying above me, my son's crayon cards still echoing in my mind, I realized something. I wasn't just going to walk away. I was going to make sure Hun saw the truth, the family, the friends, the people who thought we were perfect. Because she'd built this whole illusion in my house, with my money, on my name. And if the baby wasn't mine, then the lie didn't belong to me either. So I smiled, poured another drink, and waited, because the reveal was coming. And when it did, it wouldn't just shatter her world, it would set me free. When the last bow was untied and the final present unwrapped, I knew the time had come. My living room was full of smiling faces, chatter buzzing as people admired the little onesies and rattles and joked about sleepless nights. My wife glowed in the spotlight, but to me she looked like an actress at the end of her run, exhausted, terrified that someone would notice the cracks in her performance. And I was ready to pull back the curtain. I excused myself quietly, slipped into the study and pulled up the slideshow I'd prepared on my laptop. I debated for days whether to do this in front of everyone. Was it too cruel, too humiliating? But then I remembered the text message. I can't wait to meet our baby, not mine. Ah, I remembered my son's innocent crayon card, the one she tried to laugh off. I remembered the way she let me hang balloons and smile for photos while she hid another man's child under her hand. And I realized she'd written this play, not me. I was just making sure the audience saw the real ending. I came back into the living room, clapped my hands lightly to get everyone's attention. Before we finish, I thought it'd be nice to show a little slideshow, I said. Smiles all around. People love slideshows at these things. Pictures of the happy couple, the nursery, the ultrasound. She looked at me, startled, but forced another smile. Oh, honey, you didn't have to. I dimmed the lights, connected the laptop to the TV, and hit play. At first it was exactly what people expected. Photos of us painting the nursery, shopping for strollers, smiling at doctor's visits. Everyone oohed and ah-heed. My wife relaxed slightly, relieved. Then the next image appeared. Her, in a cafe, holding hands with a man who wasn't me. A ripple went through the room. Someone coughed awkwardly. My wife's face froze. Another photo, her and him in a hotel lobby. His arm around her waist, her head on his shoulder. The whispers started. Then a screenshot. I can't wait to meet our baby. His name at the top of the message thread. Dozens of messages scrolling by, laughing emojis, hearts, secret plans. Gasps filled the room. My mother's hand went to her mouth. My sister muttered something under her breath. My son sat on the floor, confused, his crayon card still taped to the wall behind us. My wife shot up from her chair. Turn it off. Now, she hissed. But I didn't. I let the room see the truth. I let them read her words, see her smiles, her belly cradled not just by me in the early photos, but by him in the later ones. I let them hear the story she thought she could bury under pastel balloons and baby shower games. When the final slide faded, I turned on the lights. The room was silent, except for the faint hum of the fridge in the kitchen. All eyes were on her. She opened her mouth, stammered, "It's not what it looks like." I laughed. Not loud, not mocking, just a bitter, tired laugh. "It's exactly what it looks like," I said. "You let me throw a baby shower for a child that isn't mine. You let my family, My friends congratulate me for something I had no part in. You lied to all of us. But the truth has a way of showing itself. Sometimes in text messages, sometimes in photos, and sometimes in a crayon drawing titled Mommy's New Friend. Her eyes darted around the room, searching for an ally, but there were none. People looked away, uncomfortable, ashamed for her. The image was too clear, the betrayal too obvious. I picked up my son, held him close, and said, "This is my boy, my blood, my responsibility. The rest of this, it's not mine, and it never will be." Then I turned to her, my voice steady. "You need to leave, tonight. Pack a bag. The rest will be handled by lawyers." She broke then, sobbing, begging, trying to grab my arm. "Please, don't do this here, not in front of everyone." But I shook her off. "You did this in front of everyone. You brought them into my house, sat them in my living room, and fed them a lie. Now they'll see the truth. That's on you." I carried my son upstairs while the guests quietly filed out, murmuring awkward goodbyes, eyes wide with disbelief. By the time I came back down, she was gone, a bag hastily packed, the front door left ajar. The baby shower was over, the marriage was over, but the weight on my chest, the one I'd carried for months, was gone too. In the days that followed, the fallout spread. Friends called, some to offer support, some to confess they'd suspected something, but hadn't wanted to say. Family rallied around me, around my boy. My wife, or ex-wife as I started calling her in my head, sent messages, long desperate paragraphs, about mistakes and forgiveness. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. The truth was out, and nothing she could say would rewrite it. People often ask if I regret doing it so publicly, if maybe it was too harsh, too theatrical. But here's the thing, betrayal thrives in shadows. She built her whole affair in the dark, counting on secrecy to keep it alive. I simply flipped on the light, and in that light, the truth burned too bright to ignore. Now months later, when I walk past the nursery, I don't feel the same crushing weight I did that morning of the shower. I feel peace, because the room doesn't belong to lies anymore. It belongs to me and my son. And someday, maybe it'll belong to a new chapter, one built on truth instead of deception. And if there's one thing I've learned, it's this: you can survive almost anything if you don't let someone else write your story for you. She tried to, but in the end her own carelessness, her own arrogance, gave me the pen back. The baby wasn't mine, but the strength I found in exposing the truth. That was, and that's something no one can ever take away from me.